Hello! Today I've got a tutorial for you, a nail art tutorial inspired by an internet game, which is Pony Island. So yeah, it's basically an internet game about sort of My Little Pony-like ponies that you can just, contest with and all sorts of things. And yeah, I thought it'd be fun to just paint those on my nails. So let's get started. So as usual, I started out with the Essence Studio Nails Hardening Nail Base, both to protect my nails against breaking and also quite in vain to protect them against staining from the nail polish. As you can see from how yellow my nails are, that doesn't quite work. But yeah, then for color I use this Cirque nail polish. Not sure how to pronounce it, but it's a really pretty shade of sort of salmon pink-ish. Has holo glitter, but that's not very visible in this light. Anyways, it's called Himalayan pink. I'll just list everything I use down below, by the way, as usual. And yeah, as you can see, it's pretty much a one coater. It covers in one single coat. But still, just to give it some more strength, I did add a second layer, because I would like this to stay on my nails properly for a full week. And the more layers, it just seems to last longer with me. As you can see, it's like really like molten metal. It's really pretty. And then to make the surface a little bit more smooth for the painting later on, I use this really thin, I think it's a top coat by Rituals. It's just called nail gloss. But yeah, it works as a top coat, so I'm just guessing that's what it is. And for the painting I used acrylic paint. You could also use nail polish if that's what you prefer. But yeah, I think acrylic paint is just slightly easier to work with. It's just, I feel like I can make thinner lines with it. And nail polish, when it dries, it gets sort of sticky, whereas this doesn't really dry. Like, this took me like 40 minutes to do, and all the while the acrylic paint just, stayed liquid on the paper plate at least. Did obviously dry on the nails, but yeah, you get what I mean. And yeah, the easiest way to do this is just to keep a photo or something like that, somewhere within view. Like I said, these ponies are actually from a game website, and I just, opened up my account there and just, used some ponies that are on my account. Just paint those. You could also just like completely just do it from like memory or just imagination, but personally I find it easier for this sort of thing to have a image that I can just sort of follow. Simply because, it's on nails and you can't just easily erase something if it goes completely wrong, so yeah. And one thing with the acrylic paint is I do actually, sort of, despite trying to make thin lines, I do load up the brush quite heavily. And then I just sort of dab it on rather than to just stroke it on, because I feel like it covers more easily if I sort of dab it on. And I do prefer it if everything is just opaque in one single layer, because, well, I'm not actually all that amazingly good at painting. So, when I make a line, I want the line to be there properly, because if I have to go over it 2 times, there's a bigger chance of making mistakes. Although if you do make a mistake, you can just go over it with the color that was underneath it, and that will probably usually fix it. And yeah, also what I did this time, like I used to always start out with sort of a vague shape and then add the outline later on. This time I actually started out with the outline, because I thought, and that actually worked, if you start with the outline and then add the colors inside of the outline, then you can just make the outline thinner that way. Which, to my surprise, actually worked out exactly as planned, so yeah. Because as you can see, the outline is quite thick, and then with the white on top of it, I just go over the outline slightly, just to make the lines look a little bit thinner. I did notice the orange shade that I have doesn't really cover all that well, so I really had to dab it on quite thickly. But still, it all dried within like a matter of minutes. Like once I was done with the last pony, the first was pretty much already dry. And yeah, then once everything is dry, it's completely matte. As you can see, almost. The orange isn't dry yet here, but yep. And then once it is actually completely dry, it's time to add top coat, because acrylic paint washes off in water, so you do want to add top coat to this. I used a shiny one because magic ponies, you know, they're supposed to be shiny. I don't know, I just prefer it. Also, I still haven't bought a matte top coat, so I didn't have much of a choice. And then this is what it looks like in the end. I'll also add a photo with direct lighting so you can see the glitter in the nail polish better here. And yeah, that was it for this week. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye! Stars. And the way I paint stars is just by making little bows and then attaching them all so